Get your day started right. From our shack to yours, this is Coffee and Ham Radios. We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, that's a sweet-looking Forerunner on that. Oh, that was mine. I forgot.
Chuck, you're so humble. That's what I like about you, Chuck.
No, I love that thing. Well, I don't know. I'm thinking about moving on. But
how much you pay for it?
What I pay for it? I got it for free.
There you go.
What do I have into it? It's a different story. I got
that makes it worth putting all that
it.
stuff into it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was yours, Chuck. I thought that was the cousin of yours or something like that.
No. I had some friends that were they were just gonna have it smashed. They were just gonna have it smashed, and one of my other buddies said, "Well, Chuck's got a Forerunner already. Maybe he wants it." So they gave it to me, and then I found out it had no motor, no transmission, no transfer case. I picked all that stuff up.
So of course you put a clean electric motor in there.
Yes, it's got a 3,000 watt electric RC motor in it.
So basically, some assembly required, right?
I did all the assembly on that thing. It's
somebody watching Christmas shows. What's going on over there?
It's you know what? I hate my internet.
I was trying to figure out what it was.
I'm done. We're good. We're good.
He's watching cat videos.
Today we are going to talk about the differences between GMRS and UHF VHF, and which one might be better for you. Tio, what do you got going on? Anything? He's just holding all his little radios up there. He's like me. Look at that.
Just showing the differences between the radios. They look pretty similar.
That was your 4BVT or whatever it is.
They all have buttons. There's buttons on them.
Tio, what else you got going on? I mean, besides just showing us all your radios.
Oh, I always got something going on. Yesterday I was on Ham Radio Live with Larry. Larry's just an amazing ray of sunshine in a dark ham radio world, and it's good to see people like that. There's this place you can go online where you just get yelled at and hollered at and criticized and ridiculed about
Toads?
You want to do in ham radio. And then there's Toads, where it's all just it's just a warm big hug and a pat on the back and a cup of coffee and a scone or a donut or whatever. Everybody's always got something to share, something positive. And Larry would fit right in on Toads. He would be great on Toads. If you haven't seen Ham Radio Live, he's fantastic.
He'd have to figure out how to use Discord, though.
That place you're talking about, I posted one of my last videos up there, the one that's done really well, and they just buried it. It's like, oh, that's your loss.
I don't like good content.
You never know. It's a crapshoot when you put something there.
Adam says, sounds like his ex-wife's house. Yeah.
Hey, what is going on with you? I mean, you weren't here yesterday. I don't know if you want to share.
No,
that
I wasn't.
Yeah,
I can give everybody a quick rundown. I had to go and get a cyst removed from one of my vocal cords, and so I had that surgery this week, and it had been bothering me on and off for a few months. When it first happened, they were like, "Oh, this is just vocal strain, and it should go away." And then I went in, and they had to take a camera. This on the end of this string, and they grease this string up, man, and they put it in your nose and just run it all the way down into your voice box, and the whole time my eyes are just watering like crazy, and he's like, "Yeah, you have a cyst on your left vocal cord and a nodule on the right," and he goes, "We're gonna have to go in there and dig those things out." So I had that done last week, and I thought I was going to actually miss a couple more shows than I did, but seem to be doing okay. So here I am.
It's like throwing one of those nasal cannulas in, huh, John?
Oh yeah. Well, at least you're here. I mean, it could be worse.
Oh, he said
right?
Nasal. Okay, sorry, nasal. I misheard that.
It's EMS chat.
Yeah, EMS chat there. So today we have John with us. John is affiliated with nobody but John today.
It's great. It's
but
great.
John is our.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys know it, but he has his own stream called is it Cigars and Communications or Communications and Cigars, I think.
Communications and Cigars, yep.
And if you guys haven't watched that, you ought to, especially if you want to know anything about 2-meter anything about repeaters, any of this stuff, because John knows more than
cigars.
Almost anybody. Well,
And cigars.
probably more than anybody I know about that stuff. That doesn't even advertise it. But John, tell us about your stream and how people can find it. Looks like we've added it in the chat there for you.
Yep. So communication cigars. It's funny. Some people asked. I said, "Where did you start it from?" Well, I had a couple of people that we were chatting with online, just kind of like through Facebook and whatever, and we talk about radio and stuff. And then someone said, "Hey, it'd be cool to get some ideas out there or discuss it." So it was kind of, we started out. Actually, I think it was last September is really what it was, and it just kind of started to kind of grow from there. We started to do it. We talk about anything communication. So. Amateur, marine, aviation, business, public safety, CB, GMRS, all that kind of fun stuff on there. As a matter of fact, I was actually working on what tomorrow's episode is going to be, and I'm at a crossroads, and I don't know what it's going to be yet. I have two ideas, either to dive into paging or talk about digital modes. I don't know.
Is there anything useful to do with pagers anymore?
There is actually. That's actually the cool part. Like, paging is sort of coming back with like a lot of these hotspots and different devices. They got the there's like the amateur community. Once again, we come to the rescue of dying communications, and you can actually get hotspot devices, pagers that you can actually take your cell phone and tie into like weather alerts or stuff, and then actually page out POCSAG on the handbands.
People are crazy about that stuff, like if that are in the POCSAG or whatever you say it, but they go nuts about it in the SDR space.
They do, and it's super cool. It's a simple, easy data mode for just one-way stuff. I was big into paging. As a matter of fact, that's really how I got my start into the two-way radio
pagers
world.
in high school.
Yeah, well, of course, you had all those pagers, and then you had alphanumeric paging. Wow, I can get text.
Well, like I remember everybody had their pager, and like so you would get a page, it would have a number on there, the callback, and then it would say like 007 because everybody wanted to be 007, and then 911 because it was an emergency. And I'm like, which James Bond is calling me emergency style right now?
Yeah, there used to be a whole thing they had. Like before alphanumeric came out, the friend of mine him and his wife had this thing set up where it was like if they had to spell out a certain message, they were like. Like it was like this weird thing, like it would be like 12. Okay, that's like they're like breaking out your Captain Crunch decoder ring, and I'm like, why don't you just call her, let her page her phone number and call you.
Right.
Just drink more Ovaltine.
To her. Yeah, that's basically what it was. It was like, well, just this, and I had another friend. He's like, okay, well then my wife pages me so that I page her to let her know where I'm at so she can call me. I'm like, why didn't she just page you with the phone number she's at? But hey, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, my mom didn't want me to have a pager when I was a kid and I had one, so there was some.
It made you look like you were a drug dealer or something.
It made me look like I was cool, and there was a place down the street that you could get a pager from, and then so I used to have to drive up there once a month and pay my bill in cash and stuff like that. Like kids don't realize how easy they have it these days.
Right.
It's ridiculous how much technology has made life easier, and then we've just filled it like a storage unit. It's just like our lives didn't get any easier. They didn't get any slower. We didn't solve the world's problems. We just made more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently, like your gas meter on the side of your house uses that POCSAG, right, to communicate back and forth to the gas companies. I don't know exactly how that works, but I think it's like somewhere in it's VHF. I'm sorry, UHF, right? It's like 430 megahertz or something.
Yeah.
And so but a lot of people are into that, reading it with their I read about SDRs a lot, and it's like I'm decoding my thermostat. I don't know if I'm into that or not.
You know what?
I think
I've got one of those thermostats that's attached to my phone, and I was getting so many hits on Discord at night or early in the morning because I'm on the West Coast. You guys are up, some guys are up 3 hours early, and all of a sudden my wife's like, "You gotta get that turned off." So my nephew turned off my alerts except for like my mom and my sister and stuff like that. My wife. Well, my heater thinks I'm gone during that time now. because I'm offline, I guess. And the heater just sets to as low as it'll go and just stays there. So my wife's like, how come the house is so cold in the mornings, you know? Not that it's, I mean, cold is relative to the area compared to where Wisconsin, you know. But you guys,
Oh, yeah.
What temperature did we get to? It was 25 when I woke up. Oh, it's 34 now.
We had a high.
36.
I had a high of 57 yesterday, so I was definitely running around in the shorts.
Jerk.
Yep.
Jerk. We didn't cross 48.
It's probably in this high 60s. Well, no, yesterday it rained. Actually, it was not high yesterday. The day before, though, it was probably in close to 70 here. But so, what do we want to talk about with? I think the glaring thing, and people may hate this, but I think the biggest difference I see in GMRS to UHF VHF is that the big manufacturers like Yaesu, ICOM, Kenwood, they don't make GMRS radios. And whatever you think about Chinese radios, there's a difference. I mean, in quality, right? I think.
I think these Chinese companies are just making these wide-banded radios and then branding them differently. I don't, maybe some very minor basic filtering on them, but
I got a GMRS one. It's a Bofang basically.
They're all the same. I think they're all the same radio, just a different label on the outside of it.
But they work. And I will say that I do think that the Chinese radios offer things that the name brands haven't really. I think they're just now starting to like USB charge, like USB-C charge into the side of the radio. How easy could that be? I mean, maybe
that's
not,
actually one of the things that these Radiodities have. This is my GM30 from Radiodity, and would you look at that? It's USB-C. What's up with that?
That opens up a different world. That opens up a different world. Any cheap solar panel can charge that radio now, right?
Some of those radios, though, they have these USB chargers on them, or they'll have like some kind of charging port, but they're goofy voltages. You know what I mean? So
Yes. Yes.
And like you really do have to pay some attention to that, or you could burn your house down, right? Like if you take the adapter and USB cable that came with like your GD77, I think it's a GD77, and plug your iPhone into that, goodbye iPhone, right? Because it's coming in at like 7.5 volts as opposed to 5 point whatever.
Oh wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
won't your iPhone not use it though? I think it's. I wouldn't try it, but I mean, I think if you do it by mistake, it may not actually work.
It's the wall wart that you plug in is pushing 7 volts as opposed to 5, right. And so you can smoke your phone doing that. I
know my iPhone rejects certain things though, automatically for some reason, and it's things that actually should work sometimes. But so John, what is your preferred radio? Not brand or anything like that, but for off-road stuff. Do you do off-road stuff at all?
I do. Sometimes, up here, especially, we got ATV, UTV stuff. I go to the annual Wisconsin has a UTV association for the statewide and stuff like that. Nice. And I tend to go there. But for me, I've always been a big VHF fan. Now, of course, that's different than the GMRS, but one of the reasons that I tend to do that is VHF is going to get a little bit of a better range than UHF, but that's great, with the trees and the hills and everything like that on there. The nice thing about I think GMRS is that I've personally, in looking at some of this stuff and everything, I've seen this huge spike for GMRS licenses, and I've seen this. It's almost like, I want to say this, but I'm probably going to upset someone. It's almost like how amateur radio sort of used to be. And I know I just kind of probably pulled the grenade and just threw it into the chat here. But the reason I say that is because I started to look at some of these things. People are putting up GMRS repeaters. People are linking GMRS repeaters. People are holding nets with like 40, 50 check-ins on GMRS repeaters. And I'm just like, wow, this is kind of how it kind of used to be. And I don't know, it's just, I just think it's kind of an interesting thing. And I think it's really good. It's really simple. It's really easy. You pay $70, you get your license. It covers basically your family. So, it's really good. The only thing I would say, kind of bad about it, is a lot of people buy these radios like businesses, and they'll use them for their business communications. And then,
My high school bus company did.
Yeah, it's just difficult like that, because I went to this, I don't know if I could say it, but it's this place that's a mall, which is in America. And I decided to take my scanner, and it was kind of just playing around with it and stuff. And next thing you know, is like all of a sudden I'm getting all these hits on all the GMRS and FRS frequencies.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one who does stuff like that. Like when we go shopping, like if we're at the Walmart or the Target or something like that, I'm out in the parking lot scanning while my wife runs in to get something.
Chuck, when the whole people look at you like because you're laughing, and you're all by yourself.
I'm like, wait a minute, they've got to clean up on aisle 9. Something happened. They're calling for a manager.
Well, and I even went and I brought mine into Mall of America. I mean, I wore a shirt over it, and made sure that I wasn't gonna be doing it. So we're in the food court, and I'm like, I set this down like right on the table, and I'm doing it while everybody's eating, and I'm just kind of videoing it real quick, like looking around for like it's like security gonna come
at all.
Well, because I've heard of people bringing just simple FRS radios and stumping, and then these certain people in white shirts there that enforce security have stopped and been like, "What are you doing? What are you that kind of thing." So it's like I don't know,
Nothing illegal. Go away.
No, nothing illegal. No, but it's just kind of like they don't understand.
I was at a bar, and these guys kept coming up to me because I had a flashlight clipped inside my front pocket. And so the guy comes right up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, you can't have that knife in here." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Is that a pocket clip for?" I was like, "No, bro, it's a flashlight." And at least 6 times the bouncers and stuff were coming around and saying stuff to me. So I ended up just unclipping it and putting it in my pocket. But I was like, "Man, I can only imagine if you're in there with a
problem gone. No knife in my pocket. Now that the clip's not visible." Wow.
So, I mean, my favorite. I mean, my Forerunner, I just run. Well, I have a CB in there because some people that I wheel with only have CBs, and then I have a 2-meter. I don't even mess with 70. It's kind of my preferred. I did just build something for 70, but I've never really. I can't say that I've ever. I made a contact on my last video on 70. I think that might have been my first 70, and I did on my. I didn't even realize that I was on my 2-meter Yagi. But it works.
We have a lot of 70
blow up
repeaters.
My 705. Do you? We probably do too.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth.
It's pretty popular. I think that ham radio is missing out by not having like some sort of like channelized frequency set aside in 2 meters and a pay to play thing like GMRS. I think it would really gateway people into that. What gets me worked up about the whole thing is the interoperability issue, right? Like I can't use. So in my Jeep, I have a CB that I take in and out, but I just have ham in there most of the time. If I wanted to talk to somebody on GMRS, I have to use an HT, which limits my range, right? And then I just would like to be able to use the same equipment back and forth, but
right.
I don't know. That's
Legally,
the hassle.
right?
Yeah, legally. But I think that more and more people are just going to continue to use GMRS because it fills that gap. And GMRS manufacturers, whether you like them or not, like Midland and stuff like that, they're targeting the outdoors type adventure type people and saying that, hey, this is we have a product for you that is easy, right? You just go pay $70, and then like you mentioned, John, everybody that you've ever heard of is covered by your license, and it's just an easy thing.
The bad thing is they don't tell you that the signing up for the $70 is harder than taking the ham test.
right. I'd rather take the ham test and not pay the $70.
Right, it's easier.
But it was the fastest license I've ever had issued for them. From them, I could pay like at 3:00 on a Thursday afternoon, and by 3 a.m. Friday morning, I'm already out into the ULS.
He was checking.
I just got. Well, hey, it was an educational experience.
But to your point, like we have a couple of GMRS repeaters out this way. They're more busy than the ham repeaters. But I think it targets a little bit of a different audience too, right? Like not everybody wants to be like in ham radio, like paint this picture of the holy grail is the DX contact one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Right.
not everybody is into that. Like a lot of guys just want to talk to their bros. You know what I mean? And they're going to just do that on the repeater. And again, GMRS is an easy way to do that.
You know, and I'll tell you this. I hope the FCC is listening. You guys got to get your act together. So now that I'm banned from your show, probably YouTube now and everything. Sorry about that. Where GMR, a lot of people don't realize like where GMRS really came from and how it was, because I mean, like growing up north of Highway 8, alrighty, we didn't have cell phones, and when we did, you know, the old joke of saying, hey, I got the Motorola cell phone that looks like I'm calling in an airstrike. You know, you got the antenna, the bag, and everything, and you're walking around, hey, I got a cell phone. Right. We didn't even really have that kind of per se growing up. So we relied heavily on radio. And it was either you went along and you bought you got your amateur ticket, or you bought a GMRS radio. And the cool thing about it was that, like, you could use repurposed commercial equipment. And that's kind of the neat part here. I mean, my main GMRS radio is this right here. It's a Motorola handheld that I picked up really for a really inexpensive amount, because, you know, if you take a look, you can easily get high quality. If you don't like the Baofengs, if you don't like the Midlands and stuff, you can easily go on and buy Motorola or Kenwood or EF Johnson or Maxon radios or whatever, relatively inexpensive. You know, and throw GMRS frequencies in there, and you're good to go.
Well, you only need to program that once, too. Like a lot of people say, well, you got to have the software to program it. But if you put the GMRS stuff in there, it's set it and forget it, right? You don't have to.
Yeah, correct. Because I mean, once you find out like where like the GMRS repeaters are, and you know what frequencies you're going to be maybe using and stuff like that, I think I probably have maybe 90, maybe 96 different GMR setup frequencies in there. Why 96? Well, yes. Well, I take it back. I lied on this one. This one actually has, you can, and by the way, folks, you can
look at that front panel.
Yes, it's from panel. So really on this one, I don't, but the other one I do, because there's really no front panel programming. Yeah. Like on the Radio Oddities and stuff, you know, I have a GS5B, that orange life preserver looking one from Radio Oddity. It's not bad. You know what I mean? And
so what is that thing? That's a UV5R basically.
The one that you have? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that really? Yeah, that's really a rebadged one, isn't it?
Well, turn it on. Does it say channel mode?
It does.
Welcome. Channel mode.
Yep.
It's a Fang.
That's a UV5R.
Same woman inside that radio. My wife's gonna be like, why did you turn that radio on?
It makes you feel warm and welcome. Good morning. Oh, hello.
That's what I hate about my Watson radio. Like when I turn it on, I hear the Baofeng lady. You know what I mean? Because like when I got it, I was like, oh man, this is nice. And I turn
I go with
Baofeng.
I go see mine's more of a waking, calming, waking.
That's nice.
So we can... Wow. Good morning, John. Use me. All right.
Use me.
But yeah, it's great. And here's the best part. You don't have to get repeater coordinated. You don't have to do anything with GMRS. I mean, you literally can buy a repeater. You could strap two Baofengs together. You can do whatever you want as long as you're on your frequency. Do it.
My buddy Javi's got one in a little box for a repeater. He's got a little GMRS repeater. He's going to take it to Arizona. I guess that's the guys are talking about being on GMRS that weekend. I don't know.
Well, that would be good.
I don't understand. I don't know why a bunch of ham guys would do that, but
well, my I have my Yaesu 7900 in my Jeep. I scan when I scan channels. I'll just scan GMRS. I was listening the other day, and these guys were talking all about their GMRS mobiles that they were buying and putting in their cars. You know, I was like, I should get one. I feel like I was missing out by not having one. But
well, you think of Uniden back in the day. Uniden, when you bought a Cobra CB, if you opened it up, it usually said Uniden on the inside. A lot of them did, a lot of the good ones, and they were pretty quality. But from what the few things I've watched on YouTube about GMRS is the Uniden is really not one of the better GMRS mobiles.
No, I'd get that Watson.
That one's supposed to be one of the best ones.
And then BTEC has a pretty nice one out too.
Now, is that something else that you can do from Motorola too, John?
Yeah, you know, like
it's fairly portable. I mean,
Yeah.
not portable, but I mean small.
Well, and yeah, they have it. I mean, a lot of, and it's Motorola doesn't really have anything out like currently that's pretty there, but they used to have this series called the M1225, and they were like literally, it was, as I muted myself there, it was like if you looked at it from the top, the radio was like that big on there, and I mean, it was like 25 watts. You can get them in UHF, and it's small, it's compact. It was like 20 channels, and they really work. But I mean, you could just find a lot of this old surplus stuff, because guess what? That's the other great part about GMRS, with the exception of FRS frequencies, which people got to understand there's a difference. There's a big difference for the purpose. You're not restricted to narrowbanding issues. And a lot of people forget that.
So those frequencies do overlap, FRS and GMRS. So what's the difference there?
So what happened is that way back in the days, so GMRS was, and it is because people don't know why FRS was kind of like this stepchild of GMRS for the longest time and whatever. But if you take a look at it, the frequencies are all what I call evened, or 25 kilohertz. So like the repeater, it's like on, ending 675, 700, 725. So all of those frequencies were designed to be repeater operation, or you could do the output of the repeater for mobile link. But what people wanted to do is they wanted to create these, for sake of a better term, sort of like an interstitial channel where you can actually communicate with one another for lower power communications and still within there. And that's why if you take a look at all the FRS frequencies are usually nestled between the two repeater frequencies. So like 5625 and 6625 and all those, because those frequencies allowed you to kind of talk not on a repeated channel, but still have a GMRS channel that you can communicate with people on there. And then they put it specifically at low power, so then that way you're not interfering with a repeater. Because if you think about it, if you were putting out 50 watts on an FRS channel, you're going to be very close to a repeater channel, and you might overlap with the two of them. But that's really what the whole purpose of FRS was. And then they did lower power on them. They did all this kind of fun, as I kind of call it, garbly-gook of all that. And now all of a sudden we're kind of coming back around, where now it's like, okay, now we'll kick it up to 2 watts. Now we'll go and, have this and this and this. But that's why if you take a look at an FRS radio, I tell people don't bother using FRS channels 8 through 14, because those are going to be extremely low power, and they're going to be by repeater inputs. And that's why they're low power, so you don't bleed over in repeaters.
Right. What I noticed too is I've got this one. And then I bought another one. These were sent to me to do a thing on, and I think, like Abe said, they're just a rebranded Bofang, really. And then the other one I have, they don't match up, because even though the channels are the same, they're not the same. And that's the weird thing to me.
Yeah, I've gotten those to review. Not that particular one, but I've gotten FRS radios to review where the channels are programmed incorrectly. Like they got the wrong frequencies and stuff like that in there.
Right.
That's pretty bad for a non-technical user. I just want to turn it on and work.
No, that's what they're supposed to be for, right? I mean, if you buy the same brand, they're probably the same.
Yeah, well, I've had them that had the wrong power settings programmed in as well. And so, like, I've contacted them back, and they're like, oh, well, you got an evaluation model. That's why. Okay.
I'm sorry, did you see me roll my eyes on? I meant to do that with my eyes closed.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that adds more of a complexity to it too, because for a while there, Motorola was huge. I remember that was one time you could like buy the cheap bubble pack Motorola radios. They had like 15 different models on there, everything from this weird yellow one that had the push to talk button on the front. I don't know what the deal was with that, to doing all these other ones. And then what people started to do is they started to try to get crafty to make their radio kind of work only with their brand. They would purposely set up the frequency and then purposely put in what I hate this term,
PL tone or
privacy code. And I was like, no, it's not a privacy code. Shut up. It's a PL tone. That's what it is. But they would do that because then you knew that if you bought the Cobra, FRS
Right.
X4000, you could only talk to the XRS 4000, and it was just like no. And then it would turn out, like Cobra channel 1 was Motorola 8, and yeah,
Right.
It's the
I
worst.
thought those were the most confusing radios I've ever owned. I had some of those Motorola's, and it's like, you got to do. I mean, they didn't even come, like, at least the new ones come with channels. I mean, that you can just switch to. Those you had to, like, program them. And we used to use them for motorcycles, and they worked all right. But we put the privacy thing in, thinking that nobody could hear us. Well, it's just the opposite. You just can't hear other people. They can all hear you. They just can't talk to you. So it wasn't a privacy thing, really.
But if you're fitting out your rig, to go wheeling with the buddies, like now you got to have your ham radio in there, and you're seeing a lot more ham radio in those things too,
Right.
which is a cool thing. But you got your ham radio in there, you got your GMRS radio in there, and then you got your CB in there. Your car ends up looking like a porcupine with all them antennas all over it.
Got this much room,
Yeah, so I went to a 4x4 rock crawling event, and they all had Baofeng UV5Rs, and they were all talking on 5.2, and I was like, "What's your call sign?" What do you mean call
What?
sign?
What?
So I wrote a strongly worded postcard and sent it to the official observer, and I don't know what happened after that, but I did my part.
Well, were they all blue?
No, I had my yellow one, but I mean I'm licensed, so it's okay.
I
And
mean,
they're like,
theirs.
what do you
Theirs are all
keep
blue,
saying?
right?
What do you keep saying KM9G for? What does that mean? I'm like,
What does that mean?
nothing.
5.2 is really big here in California. I mean,
I went camping with a bunch of prepper types, and they had built a repeater out of Baofangs and put it in a Pelican case, and they strung it up a tree. And when I got there, everybody's using Baofangs and talking and all this stuff. And you didn't hear a call sign out of a single one of them. And I'm like, so who here is actually licensed?
So
none
wait a
of them
minute.
were.
They took a couple of Baofangs, they took a Pelican case, they made a repeater, they did antenna work, they raised it up. How did they do that without passing a ham test? How did they know this knowledge? That's
Right.
impossible.
They must have got it off of some kind of book. But so then none of them were licensed. I'm like, y'all can't be doing that. You have to use a call sign. And they're like, well, what's your call sign? And I'm like, why? And they're like, we'll just
use yours."
I'm like, no.
Niner star.
Right
so
on
for the first time, Ape's not putting his call sign out there because his buddies will steal it.
right.
Somebody mentioned that I should be running. I can't remember who it was. Sorry, but I think it was Shooter. Said I should be running a dual band so I can do the crossband repeat. And he's right. I mean, that would be a good thing. And my buddy, we went and bought he wanted a new one. We both had the 8800s, which does crossband repeat. And when they quit making that, he wanted another one. So we went and bought one, and we didn't realize, we thought it was a dual band. It was another Yaesu, but it was, what was the one of the first ones that replaced it? Was it a 7100? No. Well, anyhow, it didn't crossband repeat. He's all mad. I go, I've never used crossband repeat. I mean, I just know about it. I've never used it, but that would be, my 8800 probably is a better radio for my 4Runner than what I have in there.
Well, and
overall.
the other thing people got to remember too is that it's weird how Part 95 stuff works. And I actually went and I know I want everybody to sit down. I got an answer directly from the FCC that was correct one time. So I know everybody's heads are going to blow up. But what it is I asked the one guy, yeah. I have it documented. It's in my calendar. But one of the questions I asked one time, and it was a legitimate question, I actually have it back in writing and I still have it saved, was this like,
Will you marry me?
can you take radio service A, in this case it was CB radio, and then cross it over to a business band radio? Because I was a solution that was looking for a customer up north of Highway 8 doing some logging and stuff like that. They had workers who were using business radios in the UHF and they were having semi-drivers with the logging coming in, but they're not going to have their business band frequency, and you're not going to have the workers carry around a CB and stuff like that. So they said yes. Now, at that time, I asked, how does it go with porting and connection of different things and stuff like that? And they went along and said that there are different, and their exact terms, I'll never forget it. It's ingrained in my head. Connection between radio services that you can be licensed on and not crossing different licenses is okay. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And then they said, well, you can't cross, obviously, amateur to business. I said, okay, that makes sense and stuff on there as we had conversations back and forth. But the reason I bring that up is because an alternative to GMRS or an extension for GMRS, like doing the crossband thing, is to use MERS. And MERS is those VHF channels. And I've actually made devices that allow you to go via MERS, which is 2 watts VHF, back to, let's say, another UHF or a business frequency or whatever, because you can use MERS for any of that stuff, and then cross over to, like, let's say, a GMRS repeater. So, I mean, realistically, the sky's the limit as long as you're making things work.
Yeah.
It's
So
all
you
confusing
can't,
to me.
can't take CB and talk over business class. Is that the end of that?
No, they said you could, because CB is technically listed to be able to be used for business class. And now,
really?
and now, like, especially with the FRS stuff, now that's technically business class. And as a matter of fact, if you have a GMR license, here's the cool part. People don't realize you can actually talk 5 watts EIRP on FRS, where people who are not licensed on GMRS can only talk 2 watts.
Oh, really?
Yep. So you actually get more power even on the MERS, or excuse me, the FRS channels. So that's another kind of bonus.
Can you use a radio that has a different antenna?
So yes, so that's another good part about getting a GMRS license, because it all comes down to type acceptance. And GMRS, you read it on there. Yep. As long as it's
this one.
designed for GMRS purposes or business purposes, because if you really want to get into, like, splitting nose hairs, we can kind of talk about how people interpret the Part 95 rules.
Just thinking about that.
Yeah. But you get in there, and GMRS gives you more flexibility than MERS, or I keep saying MERS, sorry, FRS. But FRS, yeah, it's restricted. The antenna has to be fixed. It has to be type accepted, where literally with GMRS, you can get any radio that can be programmed or type accepted for those frequencies and throw it in there. And that's why I tend to use, like, Motorola radios and, like commercial grade radios, because then I can program in my commercial stuff. I can program in ham stuff. I'm kind of like, the sky's the limit.
That's the weird thing about this one. This one, the antenna does not come off.
I could get it off.
Well, I'm sure I could get it off.
We're hams. We can make
Where's my
anything happen.
pliers here?
But it's pretty tight. If it unscrews, I can't unscrew
Is there
it.
a set
Well,
screw
if
on
you're
it?
using a GMRS radio
No.
on FRS frequencies, you still need to use your you still need to call sign, though, right? Identify, because the radio is different with the removable antenna and stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah, if you're, by the letter of the law, if you're running 5 watts on FRS, you would technically need to identify with it.
Mm-hmm. What if you're running 25 watts on FRS with a TYT radio?
Yeah. Well, then you're multi-band, so then you got to give all your call signs. No. Well, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, I'm just like
that never happens though.
They're asking how many channels does MERS have. I think it depends on who you ask, right? I want to say it's actually 7 MERS channels, but a lot of them aren't used anymore. I think most radios that you get today have 4 on there.
It's 5 frequencies that they have, but this is once again this whole marketing by the radio manufacturers, like, oh, you have 27 MERS channels. No, you don't. What you have is 5 frequencies that like they'll use PL tone 67, and then they'll use DCS like 23. It's like really rudimentary, elementary. I mean, my daughters can come up with a better tone signaling plan.
Well, they're like, you got the
Anybody can
blue
do it
dot, the
better.
green dot, the red dot.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, not color codes. No.
I think I'm going to buy one of those little, I think it was Redivis or one of those companies has a 4-pack of FRS. They're really cheap ones. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get the grandkids hooked.
Do
Just
it.
with
Do
that.
it. Take them on a camping trip.
tell you
Bring their
what.
bikes along. Give them all radios.
My the oldest grandson, I want to get him. I think he can pick up CW so fast. And I'll just take him out. He'll do all the CW and copy and stuff. And
So Long Island CW Club has a kids only session, and it's fantastic. Yeah, they let young kids in there, but
he's not ready yet. But
it's
soon.
fantastic.
We just got him one of those electric motorcycles, and he's like,
excellent,
very good. He's really good at it.
So Spike has an interesting question. He says, is anyone really going to know what kind of radio you're using on the other end? And the short answer is no. The longer answer is yes, because you'll have a clearer signal, you'll have more power, you'll have more range. And then the even longer answer is nobody cares.
Well, don't some radios, this is a question for John, don't some radios send out a digital signature, not a digital, a frequency signature that you can identify? Like, maybe I'm talking crazy, but I've heard that there's some radios out there that will broadcast a unique identifier to the brand and manufacturer and stuff like that.
There is some that like do some subaudible signaling on there that people have played with, because that's the nice part about GMRS. You know, you can do some of that short signaling. Yeah, so, you know, like you can kind of do some of that stuff for DTMF stuff on there. There is some that do that, but you tend to not really see it too much on like the GMRS, the FRS, the MERS and stuff like that. But when you start getting it up into, you know, like the DMR, like in the business bands and stuff, they actually want to see that on there, you know. But to kind of play off that question, here's another issue that people are running into is a lot of these newer FRS radios, GMRS radios that are coming out, they're hard programmed to narrowband. Mm-hmm. And then if you're running, like, let's say older equipment, or not older equipment, but like you're programming your own stuff, people will leave it in wideband.
Sure.
And what will happen is that if a narrowband, you know, of course, is you're listening to narrowband person, it's going to sound more kind of quiet and turned down. And then if you're talking back to them, you're going to sound overmodulated, you know. But that's the only problem I really kind of see when the two different radios.
Yeah, I like sounding overmodulated. It means I'm driving a lot of watts.
Driving it hard. Yeah.
It just sounds like you're drunk.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, there's just, like Ape was saying, there's just so many different things people do for off-road now. I mean, I'm probably just going to, for GMRS, I'm probably just going to carry this in case I do run into somebody that I'm wheeling with that has it. But other than that, but like we were talking, sometimes they're not programmed the same. So,
well, the challenge is that if you get away from somebody, like, and you're out there, the hand HT inside the car becomes a difficult thing to work. Like, when I see a lot of people using them, because you have a coach or a spotter out there telling you, cut it left. You know, that's HTs are fine for that. But if you really are trying to, you know, let's just say you break down. Well, you could get out and you could call that way too, but it really does limit your range, I guess, is the short answer.
Or you just take your top off like Chuck does.
Yeah.
He's talking about the top on my...
Or am I?
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Coffee and Ham Radio's after show.
That's right.
Well, we haven't done our nighttime show yet, our after a midnight show. That's coming up soon.
Whose midnight are we going to use?
Oh, well, good point.
If you use my midnight,
it's after midnight
really
somewhere.
For you guys. That's right. Yeah. So, so I know John likes his Motorola's. What do you use for your in your Jeep there, Ape? What are you using for radios and that?
So, like I said, I got I have a Yaesu. I think it's a 7900. I can't get it mixed up with 7800 2 meter.
As long as it's not a 400.
Yeah, 70 centimeter radio that I've had for, I don't know, long. I mean, it's an old radio. I've had it for a while, and I love it. But then I just would bring HTs for whatever else I was going to do. I do have a President CB that I've taken in and out of there a few times. But I don't have a lot of space. Like in the Jeeps, like when I used to get Jeeps when I was a kid, they had tons of space in them because there was nothing in there but a gear shift. You know, nowadays they make them more like cars than Jeeps. So there's all kinds of fancy paneling and carpets. Like my one Jeep didn't have carpets when I bought it.
Right. And they shouldn't really. I mean.
Yeah, but nowadays they have so much stuff jammed in there. There's no space for anything. So that's why I get all uptight around, interoperability, where I would just like one radio that I could use to do a bunch of different services on. And I get that CB would be a little bit different, but
well, that's something we should have had on there was CB is actually another something we didn't put in there, and FRS. I guess FRS was covered, but CBs have been in off-road vehicles forever, and that was probably one of the best things that you could get for the money.
Well, when I was a kid,
when you're talking rig to rig, it don't take much.
Yeah, when I was a kid in high school, even the girls, some of them had CBs in their cars.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a pretty common thing for us to, after school to go out to your car and just turn on your CB and, be like, hey, where's everybody at? And
in the parking lot right next to you.
right, up 2 spaces down.
3 spaces down, yeah.
And you're still scratchy.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You need more power, son.
Yeah.
It's like you can't use a cell phone underneath a cell tower, right?
Yeah. I'm actually waiting to see how, and I'm actually kind of trying to stay on top of it. Like with CB now going FM, I think that's going to open up a world of possibilities. And I'm really, really, really waiting to see how that's going to play. I want to get my hands on we'll call it a legit FM capable CB radio.
You don't want an import?
I don't want a radio that maybe ended up on a bench and something flew out of the radio that was about the size of a speck of pepper, and then now the radio can happen to talk on CB in FM. I'd like to actually see a legit one come out.
I think President actually has one out now that does FM. But that's what's so confusing. Like, if you were buying a radio and you really didn't know what you were doing, like. Because you go on even Amazon, they're like, well, this is a 10-meter import that has been adjusted to, it's like,
right.
It's just
It does 11
crazy.
meter. This is a, I was showing this one right here. I get my head out of the way. That's an RCI. It's a 10-meter radio, but like you said, it does 11. But it's for 10-meter, I guess it's probably good. It does about 35 watts, I think. I bought it when I was doing other things other than ham radio, and it kind of broke on me. I sent it to a guy, and he went through it. He goes, I'm taking the Roger beep out. I'm taking the echo. I go, I don't care. I don't use any of that stuff, But it's actually a pretty good radio, but I don't use it anymore. I should sell the thing. They're worth actually a decent amount of money. And he was an old CB guy that, if it's not an old Cobra, Uniden, or something like the old ones, he goes, CB radios have gotten cheap. They're junk anymore.
Everything's like that.
Yeah, but ham radios have improved. CB, but I do think the Presidents probably are pretty decent radios. Well, they haven't gone the other way, at least. But John wasn't real. He wasn't.
I don't know. I got
some
mixed feelings on that.
Some radios have improved, but there's so much crap radio stuff out on the market, and I'm not trying to hate on any particular brand or country of origin or any of that, because like this is a Chinese made radio, and I love it. I think it's a quality product, but there are so many.
U.S. company, son.
Right, there's so many.
I'm not going to give that one to the grandkids.
There's so many crap ones out there, though.
See, that whole thing to me, that's where it kind of comes down to quality, because, for FCC type acceptance, you're just required to put the listing of where it's made.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I've taken apart numerous radios in my life, and I've seen radios that have quote unquote been made in, countries that you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be a good radio, and da-da-da-da-da, and you open it up and it's like, okay, it's crap components. And then I've taken apart other radios that have been like, oh, okay, this is going to be a cheap piece of Chinese blah. And then all of a sudden I open it up and I'm like, wow, there's actually some good components in there, so it's so hard to say these days though, because it's just like, just, I don't know. It's like, what was that joke Steve Martin said? It's just like at McDonald's. They just have one thing, and then they hamburger, and they pull the lever, and the hamburger spits out, and then fries. And I kind of think that's how radios are now these days.
Well, I know there's the radio I have in my my Forerunner. I swear it's a Yaesu, but I swear Kenwood makes the exact same radio, and I'm not so sure that Icon doesn't have the exact same radio. I mean, physically they look identical. And you've had all those things where, like you said, it comes with a Yaesu, it comes with an Icon, and it comes with a Kenwood sticker on it, and it would be neat. It would be neat to have all kinds of money, just buy all three and just pull them apart and look inside and see how much difference there really is in them.
Oh yeah, there's been a history of that though.
Oh, I know.
The sad part. That's the sad part.
So I mean, everybody talks about this one's better than that one. They're probably not that far apart. I mean, on some things.
Well, when I was a kid, my grandpa would buy like the soda from the grocery store instead of like Pepsi or Coke or something like that, and we'd all be like, "Ew!"
Right?
We don't want to drink the. And he'd be like, "It all comes out of the same spigot," What's up,
Shasta.
Red?
We used to drink Shastas a lot because they were cheaper.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think there is a difference in Coke and Pepsi. Personally.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh yeah. I mean, like if you really did the Pepsi challenge, right? Put a blindfold on and did a taste test, there'd definitely be a little bit of a difference there.
Oh, I could tell the difference.
I never cared enough.
Yeah, it's just I don't drink much of it, to tell you the truth, but my buddies and I will say the same thing. I like Coke, he likes Pepsi, and we'll say the same thing about each. Oh, it's sweeter, and we both think the other one's sweeter, but I think Coke has a bite, and I think Pepsi is sweeter. It's softer.
As long as it's in a glass bottle, that's all I say.
It's got that
glass. I don't know what last time I've had a cold pop in a glass bottle.
Mexican Coke.
Right.
Yeah, and it has sugar in it.
Yeah,
what is that? They have those other Mexican drinks like the Jarritas or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They'll give you diabetes right out of the bottle. When you drink them, but man, those things are good.
Yeah. Well, we got off
some
track
street
again.
Tacos, insulin.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think I will. I probably will try to do the whole thing with the grandkids on. I look at it. I think it's one of my Radiodity has a 4-pack of different. They're all different
Chuck.
colors, huh?
It's an investment.
And bring
Chuck.
those kids. Yeah, bring those kids along, right? They'll love that for a while at least.
Yeah, that's what I did with mine. I gave them all FRS radios.
Yeah, and these are like
you got me all whipped up. I'm thinking about pulling the trigger on one of those GMRS mobile units.
Yeah, that would be nice. 50 watts.
Yeah,
well, that's what I was asking. That's what I was asking John about. Something like a Motorola one, maybe for that. So I have to get the skinny on that later. But,
I'll tell you the Waxon. What was it now? It's the it's kind of got the slanted head, right? Is that the one you're talking about, Abe?
Yeah, sure Abe has it ready to pull up right now. He's looking at him. He's buying.
But it's I've had good luck with Waxons like through the whole history. I mean, even when they were first coming out and people are like, like they couldn't say it, whatever. They were like, Waxon, and so it's like, no, this is what it is. And I actually have had a few through my days, and they've actually been pretty good. I mean, I've had, like I said, really good luck with them. And then when I saw they were making a GMRS only one, that was even a little bit more intriguing. And then they kind of based it off of their, I don't know really what class that it fell into. It was like amateur business one other. Yep. That one right there. Yep. But it's, it looks to be a pretty good solid radio. From what I could read on the specs on it, from what I read from the FCC type acceptance, I mean, it has pretty great tolerance on there.
You know what kills me on that radio? It's that
Guaranteed
36999 down at the bottom.
Yep.
It is a nice
I like how it
radio,
says
though.
it's packed with a plethora of features. Like this 50-watt powerhouse is packed with a plethora of features.
And that means a lot to me.
It does.
I like the guaranteed authentic.
Yeah.
Nice
Authentic what? Authentic Waxon?
Detachable
Ushan?
phase.
It's back ordered too. You can get it.
Yeah, see the front of it curves up. That would be the one I think
That
I
is
would.
nice.
It's tilted for your comfort.
That actually would work. That tilt is kind of nice because mine's mounted kind of low. It is hard to see the screen that way. It looks nice and small. I don't think I have room for a third though.
But I like the detachable face. Like if you were going to make like a Go kit or Go box that had multiple things in there, like it'd be nice to have detachable face for like HF, UHF, VHF, ham, GMRS, and then in Citizen band on there would be
That's the way I should really go with a bunch of.
It doesn't come with a mounting bracket, Chuck.
Oh boy,
Who
do they think they are?
Icon must own them. Icon must own them. My 991 has a. Well, it didn't come with it, I guess.
If you're sure, you can get a replacement front panel there.
Okay, wow, for $80. Can you just hook? That's nice.
Leave the front panel in the car and then take the body to your other car with the other front panel.
Yeah.
Nice. That's the one thing that Yaesu did on that. Which is the one that has the two new ones they make that has the bracket that goes in and out, kind of like the old days.
Oh, the 300 CVs. Does. Yeah.
Yep, the 300 and 200 and the 6000. Yeah, that's it's that's weird things about radios. I mean, Ape, you just pointed out. When I'll look at other radios and stuff like anything like Kenwoods and Motorola's and Wuxons or something like that, I'll be like, oh wow, that's really great. Really, that one little thing, and I'm just like, yeah, that's done. Yeah, it's just it's done. Nope, not gonna get it now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can get 4 radios for $50.
Chuck's all whipped up on these FRS radios over here.
I've got some too, someplace.
It's funny because
the original ones were so hard you had to program the dang things. Like, just give me a radio with, I don't know anything about radios. Just give me a radio that I can click the channels. Right.
The Redivis would keep this lady from Redivis keeps emailing me, and she's like, "Do you want to review these GMRS radios? Do you want to review these GMRS radios?" And they probably have 25 different GMRS radios, and I'll keep telling her, I was like, "I don't have a GMRS license, I can't review it." And then she ended up just sending me those MERS radios that I did a review on a couple months back. Like I was like, "No, don't send me the GMRS."
She fixed you.
She did. So I go out to the mail one day. I'm like, "What is this?" And I opened up, and it was those MERS radios that were in there. But
now you have to review them.
I did, but I do have a couple sets of FRS radios. But I had to tell them. I said, "Look, I don't want to keep doing this. So stop sending them to me because I've literally got a shelf full of FRS radios now."
I hear Chuck's looking for some.
Yeah, some of them are pretty nice. Chuck, if you want some, I'll send you some.
I need something really simple for the kids so they don't have to do anything but just. In fact, I need to be able to lock it.
Well,
right.
Unfortunately, the oldest one knows how to unlock everything. So.
Well, and you live in kind of a remote area too. My thing, like the reason I had to move my kids off FRS and was quickly because like businesses in the area were like using the FRS, so they were kind of interfering with it. And while it was funny for a while, my ethical and moral meter went off, and I'm like, no, let's not have you interfere with them. Let's put you on a different one. So of course, then I just went digital business encrypted with them, and everything's been good since. But it was just kind of like, it's like, just like even a Mall of America, like I said, mall that's in America.
Some mall in the United States.
I was just, you're just sitting there looking at the scanner and you're looking at all these like FRS, and there was more FRS usage than business, and you're just like, oh man, if I had a radio, wow, you could really cause havoc.
Well, I was at a red light and I was scanning, and it picked up the people who were directing traffic were using FRS radios. Maybe it was GMRS. But
a red light stop. Oh, you stopped at a red light.
Yeah, and they had because they were digging a hole or something like that, and the person out there with the stop sign that they flipped back and forth was using a GMRS or FR. I'm assuming it was FRS, but I don't know for sure.
Right. So, John, just a question for maybe something in the future. Are you into any kind of mapping systems for off-road?
I haven't really played with it too much. I saw in the comments, we for the search and rescue team, we've used the Garmin Rhinos, and we've liked that a lot. As a matter of fact, I actually was training my dog with the Garmin Astro, so I've used that kind of mapping stuff on there. But that's really kind of all I played on there. The problem is that everybody's so meticulous, I guess is the kind of way to put it, on like, I got to use this, or I got to use this map, or this or this. And, I'll be like, hey, let's just use a map. Oh, you mean like Google Maps? No, like a map. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? Google Maps? No, paper. Like, here's what it is. And it has elevations. Like I pulled out one and like, hey, what's this 1500 thing circle mean here? That's 1500 feet elevation.
Onyx off road or something like that. And I really haven't dove into it real good yet. My buddy uses it, but he bought the.
You did a review or something like that, didn't you, Chuck, on that?
No, because I don't know it well enough to do a review on it.
I could swear you had something.
Get on it.
The only thing is versus like the Garmin will work all the time, right? Because it has the GPS. Your phone, I think, loses it. So if you're going to do stuff on that, say Onyx, or there's also Gaia. I've used Gaia in the past, which is confusing to me. I just don't do it enough type thing. And those, if you're going to an area where you don't have cell service, you basically got to download that area, and then you can bring it up. So to me, the Garmin, and there's some new Garmins, but they're like $500 with a screen and everything, and it brings everything. But one of my buddies, his cousin was showing me his, and he uses it for dirt biking, and it looked pretty good. And like a lot of the adventure guys are going to those to do adventure biking and stuff. And so,
yeah, for my Jeep, I have a RAM mount that I can put an iPad in, and then I can connect my iPad to, whatever I want to have the mapping software and all that stuff up. It's really neat because you can also overlay weather. So like if you have it's just nerd stuff. But if you have like the top off the Jeep, you can. Well, it works everywhere that I have signal, right? But I can.
Right.
I have a DeLorme inReach too that I can use to.
Can you hook
to
a
bridge
GPS to like an iPad?
What's that?
Can you hook GPS, like a GPS?
Yeah. So with my DeLorme, there's an app that you can use that'll Bluetooth the map information over to your whatever tablet it is that you're running.
Gotcha. Because I mean, I do have a nice, like the smaller iPad that I was going to use it for. I got up on my last soda and I was going to use it for logging, And I dang, this thing won't. I charged it all night last night. Obviously, I didn't because it was totally dead. But it ended up working. My phone worked better anyhow, so it was easy.
They're lighting me up all day long in this chat. I don't know why I come around here.
What is his license? I think I've talked to Ape once, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
Ape's in your logs.
Yeah, someplace.
Well, there was one time, Tia, one of your daughters was calling CQ, and there was some guy that was on there who was saying that the frequency was in use.
Oh, I was on that day.
Yes, and so like the guy was complaining that she was calling CQ and the frequency was in use. So I was like, "Is this frequency in use?" And then I heard Chuck say the same thing. I was dying. But
no, she was on the frequency already,
right?
Doing a soda, and they had a net coming on, and he was like, "We use this channel for a net," and I'm like,
"This is my frequency, right?"
Well, if he had asked nice, I wouldn't have messed with him. But I gave him 800 watts. Is this frequency in use?
I'm just saying, never heard that on GMRS. I'm just
right.
Never, huh?
They're so polite
Never.
on GMRS.
Yes, it's a politer world.
On the repeaters,
Well, I mean,
I've never
he was
heard
just rude that day. He was just rude.
Yeah, people get
Because
crazy.
I'll move for people. Oh, this is your net, and they ask nice. I go, oh yeah, let me move. I'm just doing. I just need one more contact though. Can I have one more contact? I need to. That was. Hey, that was my first time with a 705.
This guy was like 14301 or something like that, and this guy came back and says you're doubling up with the Maritime Mobile Net, and he's like, great. What's your name? What's your call sign? Can I get a signal report from you? All right, great, thank you. And then he went back to calling CQ. Like,
Let me have your call sign so I can log that in there. Yeah, I try not to mess with those guys because it could be important. I mean, the maritime could be an important thing for some people.
I don't think that frequency ever gets quiet. So it's like that frequency 300 is always in use. So you should know better.
It's always a good place to go to make sure your antenna's working, right?
With the Maritime Mobile.
Yeah.
There's a CW beacon that I tried to have a QSO with one day. It was not a good day for me. Somebody finally came back and said, "That's a beacon."
That's a beacon.
What?
Let you know.
Well, that's a good way to test your antenna, though, right? So what you're saying is just call CQ on Maritime Mobile, and somebody will get upset at you.
Yeah, because they won't answer otherwise. Testing a new antenna, silence.
That's what I've noticed. If I go out to test an antenna and I'm just calling CQ, sometimes people answer depending on how you're getting out, I guess. But most of the time, people just like, he's not calling soda or pota, so I'm not going to answer him. But if you go out and do soda or pota, my first guy the other day, I was like, hey, can you? It was weird because I had no phone service, but on my hammers it was popping up the guys' names. So I was getting some kind of service, but because I don't think hammers doesn't have the download thing. I don't think where you could download a base, right? Or do you guys know? Anyhow,
Don't know.
I'm not
hey,
sure.
Joe Brett showed up. He just woke up. Joe Brett just woke up.
He's sitting on the couch on the front porch.
Yep, on the front porch.
Stoop sitting.
We could just run I've heard a guy on 10 meters that just runs recording over and over again of him calling
that guy?
CQ. Yep. Yeah.
On 400, on 400, right?
Everybody knows. It's like I didn't want to say the bands anymore because I was like, yeah, I was playing around when 10 meters opened up the other day. Oh, you talked to him, didn't you? And I'm like, I got
You're talking about that guy. He's down in Atlanta or something like that. The Kilo Alpha Zulu.
Anytime you contact him, your signal's weak, but his is strong, right? Every time.
But see, like
So I
that
always
10
answer
meter
him,
stuff.
I can't quite get you.
The 10 meter stuff with him is
his
new.
wife.
Like he used to be on different frequencies because I swear that I have talked to that guy before.
Oh, you know the voice, right? When you hear it.
Yeah. Well, it's the same recording that he plays all the time. He's like, Kilo Alpha Zulu. That guy Larry that we were talking about earlier has a bunch of recordings of him that are funny because like where he's like, right, where he's like, don't talk to me, don't call my call sign if you have a weak signal.
Right. Like he has he's got the best signal ever. I haven't heard him in a while, but guys started telling me about him, and it's like I call him, I go, I can't quite get you. Can't quite get your call sign there. Because that's what he does to everybody else. It's like, are you kidding me, guy? Him and his wife both.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his wife's on there too. I think she's a ham also.
Well, I guess you have the water rights, right?
Huh? I guess that's his frequency. 400 is his frequency.
I call on this.
You guys got to do that now. You get the Coffee and Ham Radio's frequency.
Right.
It's coming.
It's usually
filed the paperwork
Next week.
John, with my Jesus, it's any frequency I'm on is usually our frequency.
Oh,
It
works.
thing. No,
I remember. I love to see when movies like use amateur radio, and then for the longest time, like when one of the Die Hard movies came out, they were using like a Kenwood radio and it was like on 144 or something like that on there, like one of the later Die Hard movies, and like something like that, and then everybody was like calling it the Die Hard frequency on 2 meters. I remember hearing, and then what was it? What was that movie that was made on the video? A Rampage. In the movie, I guess they're calling on an amateur radio frequency, and then it was the Rampage, frequency. And I'm like, good God, come on, guys.
Yeah, I was watching some movie, and they all had Balfangs, like the SWAT team that was breaking into the save the people robbing the bank or something like that. We're all using Balfangs.
Yeah, what's the one where everybody turned into zombies? And they're talking on CBs and CB's like totally pretty much out right now, but they're talking across the country, I used to do that all the time, though.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, like I've seen some pretty nice CB installations where guys can get out pretty dang on good.
It was 11 was open not too long ago, 11 and 10 both, and there's some guys out there with some great audio, too, that take it, they take their CBs pretty serious with their 10,000 watts.
Yeah, not everybody's got the echo machine on there, and
No. I don't hear. Well, it depends on what channel you go to. You go to channel 6, you'll hear a lot of echo.
Joe Brett's on here saying that talking about making contacts on Parrot if you do a group call instead of a private call.
Nice.
I've done that where I thought I was doing a private call and I'm sitting there, testing. This is the Smoking Ape testing, and so it's like, stop.
Somebody
it.
answered you.
Knock it off.
Oh, the parrot thing on the.
Yeah, actually, I think I was trying to keep Parrot for whatever reason. It was probably going out on 310 or something like that.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, did we kill the subject or what?
I think we might have.
Well, yeah, we talked a lot about FRS, so we must have run out of GMRS stuff to talk about.
GMRS. I still prefer if I have GMRS. I don't use it much. Abe says his repeaters are really busy. I've clicked a couple R's around here. I've never heard anybody on anything. I did hear somebody key up one time, but it just could be where I'm at too. And I keep getting. I signed up for that GMRS. Oh man, they send me a thing every week of all the new GMRS repeaters.
Yep, I get that too. Sunday night. That's how I know it's Sunday night.
Sometimes I just click off. Every once in a while I look because sometimes there's one close to you. Is it
Repeater
Sunday
Book
night? Is that one?
does list them now though, right? Doesn't Repeater Book have GMRS
Repeater
on there
Book's
now?
not very. Dude showed me that Repeater Book is not really very complete on GMRS though. They don't. I mean, I didn't think there was anything around me, and then I looked at this other GMRS alert thing, and there's quite a few around me, but I just don't hear anything. I haven't put a lot of time into it.
Well, and this I guess this kind of comes back to a good thing about GMRS too, understanding GMRS because of the way it's set up, you can actually have a private GMRS repeater. And Chuck, if you see that in anybody, I'm sure you're talking about like mygmrs.com or something like that. Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a lot of good resources. And if you're going to get into GMRS, I'll tell you this. There's if you're on Facebook, there's a couple of good Facebook groups. There's a couple of good groups IO. You got to always, I always take it with a grain of salt because everybody has their own opinion, right? But you go like my GMRS, that does give a pretty good accurate listing because you have to be a GMRS operator. When you register, you have to have your call sign in there. But like repeaters, like I could put up a GMRS repeater and I could say you can't use my GMRS repeater because it's private. And if you want to pay me to use it, you can. And I know there's people even up here by me, TO, like in very close relation to us up here, that they have some good wide coverage GMRS repeaters. But they say you want access, it's $50 a year, and that's totally legal to go ahead and do that on there. And that's kind of the cool thing about it, because like I said, once again, it's kind of how ham radio used to be. I mean, if you remember way back like in the 80s and 90s and stuff, there used to be closed repeaters, and that's not so much the case anymore. But right. But yeah, they have it on there. But I'll tell you this, the biggest thing I think with GMRS, and I tell people, is just plan it out what you're going to use. GMRS used to have a traveler's channel, and I say used to because it's kind of gone by the wayside, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. I had it up on my screen here, my GMRS notes, but they used to have it on I'm trying to think which one it was. I'm sure someone in the chat might remember, but they used a tone of 141.3, so 141.3 hertz. And what it was is you were on this channel, and I want to say it was GMRS 20, I think is what it was, which I think was like 462.700 maybe or something like that on there. And then what you could do then is it was sort of like the equivalent of 5.2 simplex. So you ran it, and then you could have that tone on there, and then people could, if you're going by someone, you could throw your GMRS call out or say, hey, is anybody listening or something like that. And then everybody would be able to communicate and say, oh, hey, well, there's this GMRS repeater over here. Do you want to go up to it? Oh, okay, cool. So it's really organized if you really start to kind of get down into the crux of it. And I hate to say it, but like you get that license, and you kind of like, it opens up a really new world. It really does.
Right. I just need to have time to look into it. I've got, doing all this other stuff.
Chuck's a busy man. He's got
I just went camping. I'm going to go build yurts today. I don't know.
Yurts?
Not that I know anything about it. I think I got asked to do that because I was a carpenter, and my buddy has no idea what we're doing.
Are they going to at least feed you? Or are you like, I need to have large pepperoni and some Dr. Pepper or something?
I'm all for that from Round
Chuck's
Table.
a ham and pineapple guy.
I like that too, but I'm a pepperoni guy actually. Well, a great show today, I think, guys. We had some pretty good watch there, and I want to thank John. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and we always learn something. And if you guys, I think we'll post his channel back up there. Hopefully, that John is Communications and Cigars. For some reason, he's so much into cigars. I thought it was cigars and communications, but it's communications and cigars.
we're gonna be like Madonna. We're under an image thing. I had a couple people say, "Do you want to drop the cigars?" And I'm just like, I don't know.
Really? They just wanted you to be just called the communications channel.
Yeah, that's what I said. So what else would it be called then? And they're like, I don't know. But I was like, okay, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I'd leave the cigars in there.
I think so. I think so.
Well, listen, it's going to be warming up soon, and then you're going to be back outside smoking again, right? So
yeah, I got to move everything back outside. I got to figure out how to do it now that I went so high tech.
And then coming up right after this, Ham Radio Dude's doing a live stream on his channel about a 2-meter Simplex contact across the Great Lakes. So see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I always like a good long distance communications on 2 meters. Well,
I like my 2 meters long.
Yes. So, Tio, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
That's it for me.
Ape, what's going on?
And nothing.
What do you got coming up? I don't know if I asked you earlier, did I?
I don't know if you did or not. Today, I'm actually going to start working on a video for. I talked to FEP Labs, our good friend Jim down there, Stanky Leg Jim in Alabama, and we were always talking about projects that we want to work on. So we're actually building these RF power taps, and so I think that's going to be next Sunday's show. Is that we'll show the output of the power taps that we're making today, and so basically it's you feed a higher power radio signal into this. One port coming out's a dummy load, and then the other port coming out you hook to your scope or your analyzer. And then you can get an attenuated version of the signal, so you can look at it and talk about how cool it is to be able to see the signal and
on a scope.
Stuff. Yeah, on a scope or whatever. And so
that's cool.
It's going to be really good because there's not a lot of good information on T-taps out there and those kind of power taps for doing those kind of things.
Yeah, well, like here's what's crazy. So like I just ordered stacks of old ARRL handbooks. Because I've been really getting into reading them, and everybody's like, the science doesn't change. The new handbook is just as good as the old handbook. The science does. They're right, the science doesn't change, but what has changed is the perspective and the attitude. Right. So if you look at a handbook from the 60s or 70s, it says, here's how you build your SWR meter. In today's handbook, it says, here's where you can buy your SWR meter. And then for me, I'm kind of into that. I like to build and do behind it, so I'm pretty excited. I'm actually really excited about it. Even though
that's cool. Can't wait to see that. So I've got something coming up, and I see Wild Cascadia is in here, and she might actually be interested in this. It's something I just printed up yesterday. It's gonna bring your 8 up a couple notches. I think I won't tell everything about it yet, but. I think it's a pretty cool little. I think Ape and Tio have seen the prototype stuff. It looks pretty good. I think we'll see how it works.
Pretty excited about that too.
So I don't have anything else. If you guys don't have anything else, we appreciate everybody for joining in today. We're up about almost 100 people, so that was good.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
We're going to say goodbye, and I'm going to give the sign to Tio there, and we're out of here.
Chuck. That was real subtle.
Real subtle.